keep the lights down so I'll look better. Oh, no.
To see this?
No.
Where did you move?
Otherwise, somebody gave me flowers.
Well, you're a mortician.
That's right, yeah, okay.
So, the tie and the shirt and the hat and the shoes all
Oh,
match.
okay. I'll do it down here, we'll have an echo.
Thank you for staying, everybody. How did you enjoy the film? Was it fun? And didn't Marvin steal every scene he was in?
Yes, of course.
All three frames.
I guess we'll start with just a little bit of how did you get into this movie? Because I know you knew Michael J. Fox from Family Ties, but that was years before. Tell us about how you got into this movie.
Well, it's very convoluted, so I'll try to do the micro instead of the macro version so you can get out of here before they screen Back to the Future 4. I had done a movie called Fandango, and it gave me a small amount of cachet in town with people who had seen it, which were very few, but anyway. I had a meeting before Back to the Future 1 with Bob Gale and Bob Zemeckis while they were doing pre-production. And I don't know exactly what I was being seen for because nothing ever came of it. So life went on. And Back to the Future 1 came out and was a big hit, and they started planning Back to the Future 2 and Back to the Future 3. And while they were filming that, and actually also during Back to the Future 1, Michael's makeup artist was a person I worked with on Family Ties named Braun Roylance. And he had me in a few days here and there when he had to run do stuff, and I would stand by with Michael and put a little sweat on him or take a little sweat off of him and do that kind of stuff. And somewhere in there, somewhere along the line, Michael saw Fandango and liked it a whole lot. And I got an interview with Mike Benton and Judy Taylor, which actually was just with Mike Benton. And they had me in to read for one of the guys in the gang that goes around with Biff. But it was determined that I was too tall because they wanted people that were more Michael's size. So, and also I was a little taller than Biff. So that made a difference because they wanted him to be the big, burly, ugly guy, and the other guys in the gang to be sort of Michael's size. And so, c'est la vie, I went on home, and then I got a call to ask me if I wanted to do this Undertaker part, and I said, sure, of course. So it was planned, and I just had to wait at home until they called me to tell me to go up. And my parents came out to visit, and they had made a trip across the country, and they arrived in Santa Monica where I was living. And the day they got there, I got the phone call that I was going up to Northern California the next day. So I said, thanks for coming, see you later. And the next morning, I took them down and gave them directions to the freeway, and I watched them drive off, and I turned around to go back up to my house to wait for the car, and the car came, and it was this big stretch limousine. And I ran back down to the corner, and I come back! It's a stretch limousine! It's a stretch limousine to take me to the airport! I'm reporting that! And they were gone, so I got my bags and went to the airport and went up there and did the part. And that's sort of the short version.
Something I feel like I have to ask you because Maureen O'Hara passed away last Saturday. You worked with Maureen O'Hara
I was not anywhere else, no.
in Only the Lonely.
Yeah.
What was she like in person?
She's very, very, very strong, very, very strong person. Wonderful, wonderful lady, but sharper than sharp and extremely opinionated. We had a little disagreement at the beginning. I made a joke which, according to her, wasn't a joke. So that set us off a little bit, but it was fine. She was truly, truly professional. And it was, for anybody that likes movies, I mean, to stand there and there's Maureen O'Hara, it's pretty amazing. And then Anthony Quinn comes in to work with her. He's also in the movie. And I went into the makeup trailer one morning, and there was Maureen O'Hara, and there was Anthony Quinn, and there was me getting made up. And it was sort of, what's wrong with this picture? And it was me that was wrong with the picture. But it was just so terrific just to stand and you get those smiles and grins, they have a phrase for them, but those grins on your face where it shoots up bigger than the Joker had in the Batman movie. I mean, because it's Maureen O'Hara and it's Anthony Quinn and what he's saying. And so she was absolutely wonderful and excessively professional and a little upset about the way the movie came out, but since I had nothing to do with that, I hope she wasn't angry at me.
Anybody in the audience have a question for Marvin about his career? Oh, the Beatles t-shirt guy, yeah.
Hi, I was just wondering what it was like to work with John Candy, and if you ever had a chance to have any conversations with him.
John was one of the greatest people you'll ever meet. I actually have a makeup anecdote about John, if I may. A lot of my early makeup work was with the Walt Disney Studios because my mentor was the department head there. And I shot a pickup scene for Splash. So if any of you see Splash, I can tell you, and you can see my only contribution to the movie. There's a scene where they're in a bar and Tom Hanks is passed out on the bar and he wakes up and he has some pretzels stuck to his face and he does this and knocks the pretzels off. And I'm the guy that put the pretzels on his face. Just so you'll know the next time you see Splash. But John was there, and of course this was a heyday of SCTV, which if any of you don't know, please make an effort. It's one of the great TV series of all time. It was Canadian, stands for Second City TV, but just so brilliant. And swear, anyway, I won't get into talking about that because again, we'll be here for too long. Anyway, he was there and everybody was like, to show you where it was in time, there was John Candy and, oh yeah, God, Tom, what's his last name? Oh, I know his last name. But nobody, it was John Candy. And I was like the schmuck that I am. I was sitting there telling him all the characters that he'd done in SCTV, like he didn't know. But he was very gracious and nodding, going, yeah, I enjoyed doing that one. And then he did, yeah, I enjoyed doing that. And you remember the time? And I did that for the whole day. And then worked with him in that, and he saved me a little bit then because I got into a little bit of trouble, but he got me out of this situation at the moment. He just eased all the tension with just one little sentence. And then I also worked with him again in, what's it called? Wagons East, thank you. Yeah, and yeah, which as I was about to say is unfortunately when he died in Mexico. But absolutely one of the great people you'll ever, well, you won't ever meet him, but you would have ever met if you'd have met him. Just a wonderful, wonderful man. Great guy. And all during, while he was on Wagons East, the whole time, everybody kept wanting to do improv with him. And he was gracious. He'd just sit there and he'd just do this stuff with the other actors in the cast because they wanted to work with John Candy doing improv to prove they were funny. And of course, for the most part, they weren't, but what do you do? Because again, when you stand next to John Candy, you're not going to look funny because he's funny. People are going to look at him and they're going to laugh at him, and there's times when you just want to sit back and go like this, and they weren't doing it. But yeah, great guy. Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions? Chris?
What work are you doing in New York now?
I'm not working in New York. I'm just running around the city, looking up at buildings, looking down into the subways, going to movies, going to some museums, wasting my time. I didn't go up there to do anything. I went up there because I had an opportunity to go up there, and I've always loved New York City. And as I said, not to bring anybody down, but it's my goal. It was my goal to die move because I figured I'd rather do it there than in Madison. Nothing against Madison. I'm a fan of New York City, and an opportunity came up, and it was fortunate enough to work out that I could get a place there.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, somebody came to my door and offered me something, I'd jump at the chance to do it, but that's not going to happen, and I'm not worried about it. I'm content to go around the city trying to find a good bagel.
And in Madison, he only has a couple dozen girlfriends, and in New York, it's a couple thousand.
But no good bagels.
But no good bagels. Any more questions? Anybody?
No.
Yeah.
I'm curious how you got into the industry.
Wow. Well, I finished school. I went up to New York. I was gonna go up there and be an actor, and I got sidetracked, and I went to work on the newspaper, New York Post, before Rupert Murdoch, in case anybody wants to know, when it was the liberal paper in New York, rather than what it is now. And for some reason convinced myself that if I stayed there, because I was about to get my chance to become a reporter on the paper. I started out as a copy boy, and for some reason they liked me and wanted me to become a reporter. And I was so scared that if I was a successful reporter, I'd never be an actor. So I quit that job and I went to graduate school out in California. And when I finished, I came back and threw everything in the car and went back out there and just stuck around until a few things worked out, and I got a break. I did a student film at the, two friends of mine helped me get into the Screen Actors Guild. I did a student film at Southern California University through the Screen Actors Guild AFI, which is this program that allows actors to be in student films. And that film became Fandango. And from Fandango, I was able to get a legitimate, real agent. And as I said, because certain people that saw it liked it, I had certain people in positions talking about me that other people listened to. And that helped, and I got here and there and moved on until I wasn't moving anymore. And then I moved back here.
I think one of the most unusual stories I've heard from Marvin actually ties into something that's playing on Turner Classic Movies this weekend for Halloween. They're playing a film called Frankenweenie. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a very early Tim Burton film where a young boy's dog dies, and he had seen the movie Frankenstein, so he wants to bring his dog back to life. Well, credited on that film for makeup.
My only makeup credit.
No, even though he did makeup on lots of TV shows like Alice and just tons of shows, he's credited on Frankenweenie. So I asked him the other night about what was it like. Did the dog have his own entourage? Did he have a manager? And Marvin said he nearly took his face off.
Yeah, it was. Does anybody know the breed of dog that Patton had, General Patton had?
Bull Terrier.
Was it a bull terrier? Yeah, well that's what this dog was. This, by the way, was Tim Burton's first live-action film. He made an animated film called Vincent, which is terrific if you ever get a chance to see it. And this was a short film that Disney, because they liked Vincent and he was working there as an animator, they let him make. And my job, even though I got the credit, I really shouldn't have. Again, my makeup mentor was trying to help my makeup career. And my job was, once the dog was transformed into the Frankenweenie, my job was to put on his makeup every morning. And they're not nice dogs if you rile them. And of course, you know, every dog in the world wants some guy to come up and put spirit gum on him, stuff on him, and rub stuff around his eye, and this kind of stuff. And he didn't like it any more than any other dog. And he had a terrific trainer who was, strangely enough, someone I called. She was in undergraduate school when I was in graduate school at the California Institute of the Arts. Her name was, and still is, Dory Sitterly, who, by the way, was also the trainer for the dog that was on Frasier. And we talked about this the other night. Was that dog's name Eddie?
Yes.
Yep.
See? See?
It's wrong.
Yeah. So we were sitting there, and I was putting the stuff on him, and I was like this, and Dory was sitting there with him, and his head just suddenly went like this and like that. And it was like pretty much right there, and I jerked back, and Dory just took his head and turned it aside and said, "No." I said, "Go ahead." And then, so that was, that was an interesting moment. And fortunately, the wardrobe people had a change of pants.
Well, the good part of that, though, is your dad came out to visit you, and
Yeah.
Dory arranged for your dad to ride an elephant.
She worked at one of the places out there that supplied all kinds of exotic animals for movies and stuff. And she invited me up, and they were really, really nice to my father. And he got to ride an elephant, he got to stand with a lion, he got to pet a wolf, and he has this one picture of him. He has this little itty bitty bird on his hand that's about this big, which is the smallest raptor predatory bird in the world. They had all these cool animals there, and he had a really wonderful day, and it was really terrific to, and I have a picture of my father on an elephant. So. She was really great. And she brought Eddie, when we had our 25th anniversary reunion at California Institute, she brought Eddie, and he was the star of the show. So,
Any more questions? I guess we can wrap it up, other than one thing I want to ask Marvin, and that is, can we get you to come back next year and maybe do Pale Rider?
well, we'll talk about that later. I'll have to check with Mr. Eastman.
About twins.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Hope you enjoyed the evening.
Bless your heart.
No, that's what I wanted you to say. On there.
There's a very cool area. You have to sort of go across the drive around the road. to the
Jane wants me to get from them that there might be a few figs left on her bush.
But you go down, and then you camp your car, and you can get some good hikes on there. And you cruise around and right up to where there's a cigarette tower. And if the river's low, you can find water. Oh, well, look at what is available. For the upper water, the wildlife and you'll end up on gravel.
We could have used it, yeah.
Coming down.
That was, you showed that here, what, about 5